Welcome in the class of QIP. That is Quality Improvement Program. I hope. Acha, how many of you are taking mains this year? Acha, tino de rahe. Good. And I suppose that you would have studied public administration properly. You are comfortable with English? You will have to respond. Look, herein we are not in foundation class that the teacher will be speaking and he will end his lecture and then no. You need to respond. हम लोग बात करेंगे and medium is not the problem. ठीक है? Wherever you are comfortable, you are supposed to respond. So, या क्या नाम है आपका? धैर्यशील. Good enough. So again, this is one of the unique name I have heard ever. I have not heard this name before this. Maharashtrian name, Dharishil. Badhiya. So I suppose all of you have studied public administration. So may I know what are the things you have studied in public administration? One is that one has gone through coaching. Other is that after coaching, one has gone through the notes and the books and has prepared the synopsis. That is the second level. And thereafter, the requirement is to convert the knowledge accumulated into answer. And therein, some connecting features are required. So it is expected in this course that you people are done with the primary part of study. So may I know the major books that you have studied as textbook for public administration? KBC Nano. Acha. Only. That is not sufficient. Notes hai? No textbook. Kitab nahi padhi. You have studied and you have tried, understood that. You have studied. What about you, sir? No, that is right. Whatever the span of the study is, that is different. But you have gone through those properly or not. And what it is sounding that the less number of books have been studied. And largely, I suppose you all have relied on notes. KBC book of Arbindam. That is also a note. That is not textbook. Right? Anyways, herein we shall not be going in the details of the syllabus and details of the topic. We'll pick up one theme, one concept. We'll discuss something regarding. And then we'll come out with some questions out of those that might be discussed today, might not be. And in the perspective of the question, we'll try to evolve the answers. In course of answers, whatsoever you do not understand, you will please let me know. Right? So that we could come up and we could connect the gaps. And today we have taken up the part of first unit from which the questions are massively asked. So I have not taken up unit wise. I have taken up, if you'll go through the brochure you have been given, देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपने देखा होगा उसको, है ना? So you'll find that it has been arranged in such a way from which the questions are asked and larger emphasis is given on those topics wherein the questions lie more. Right? And the first topic, that is quite obvious. Even if the questions are not asked, we are supposed to read that because that is the basic that provides us an understanding that what is public administration. And then has got a lot of relationship from almost whole part of the syllabus. And that first part is public administration, its meaning, scope, significance. These are the three important dimensions, and you will find when it is a matter of scope and significance, you'll find it that it is there connected with the latest concept of public administration even today. Because if we go for public value approach, public service management, if we go, it increases the scope, has got direct relation with the scope and the significance as well. Now that is one of the things required to be understood, because when as a student we read the topics, what we do, we read things in segregated manner. Meaning है तो पढ़ लिया, scope है तो याद कर लिया, याद सब है, लेकिन जब हम scope और significance याद करें या meaning भी we are trying to understand, then we do not extend it to the farther part of the syllabus. Right, sir? बात समझ में आ रही है? And in between, when it is public administration, so there will be comparative public administration also. There will be new public administration also. There will be new public management also. And then post NPM. What you need to understand, when we are there to read the scope of public administration in the first class, that is just start, that is not end. And thereafter, at every stage, we find every time the scope increases. Because what is a scope? Scope refers those areas which have to be included in the study of public administration. And all the development whatsoever they are there till today. And the condition is that of good governance. Is included to this, till this. Many things have been rejected also. At certain point of time, it was within the scope. Later on, it got rejected, and then another thing increased, included. All these things have happened. And therein there is lack of integration. So why does it happen, Darishil? Reason is that we do not remember the things. We do not try to memorize the things. How will it be possible for you to integrate things directly from here to this level? Because if the good governance is there, ultimate objective is good of people. That is efficiency of administration. If it is good of people, development of people, so that could be done by the public administration only by means of efficiency and effectiveness. And this efficiency and effectiveness, howsoever could be attained, basically those are the means of good governance. That much of integration is required and your answer is ready, which is not done largely. And the reason it is not done is only that memorization is not. That increase in conceptualization happens only when the memorization is there. So from my way of thinking, whenever you are reading or supposed to read, the primary thing that is to be done is basic. Basic learning of each and every topic of syllabus without considering what time is consumed. Once you are done with basic, you will find that automatic integration starts. Automatic integration. Likewise, if you are reading theory, you are reading hierarchy. So it comes in the start of the syllabus. So you read only gangplank. But when you come down to RGRIS, participative management. And therein, when you come to know about the matrix organization, pyramidal shape of the organization, when you come to know, and if you remember hierarchy and gangplank, automatically you will include ki gangplank is basically facilitating the same thing what matrix organization wishes to. Are you getting my point? When you were there in FEOL and reading hierarchy, you would not be able to understand the beauty of matrix organization. But if you memorize gangplank, hierarchy, and the 14 principles, etc., of classical approach, you understand. And when you come down to participative management, and when you are there with the matrix organization, that if you memorize, that is basic done. Automatic integration is there. Automatic integration would be there. That is dead sure. It happens now. I have seen you here, and after 3-4 hours in the evening, I see you somewhere in Rajendra Nagar. I might not be able to remember your name, but I'll remember ki this boy was there. Even after 4 years, 3 years, faint remembrance would be there. यार इसको देखा है कहीं? थोड़े देर में याद आता है, अच्छा इसको वहां देखा था. होता है ना ऐसा? What is this? Memory only, na? But if I do not remember the face, even after 2 minutes, even after 1 hour, if I see you, I'll not remember you. You're getting my point, sir? That is essentially required to be done. That is largely not done. I'm not asking you that you tell me what have you done, but you can realize this quite easily. And the moment you start remembering and retention is there, you will be able to integrate all this. And whatever we gain from this, we understand the things in basics, we start integrating. And thereafter, if somebody is there to ask you, how would you ensure the effectiveness in the organization for the attainment of objective for XYZ? You'll automatically include centralization and decentralization also. At certain point of time, you'll include hierarchy and you'll permit for gangplank. And at the higher level of organization, you'll include matrix organization. What are you doing? Whatever you have understood here, those are being applied. And after this, the third level of your study wherein you have to reach is application. Whatever you have understood here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mechanism of communication, mechanism of motivation, different types of motivation, means of motivation, leadership, types of leadership, behavioral leadership, situational leadership. Everywhere situational leadership only is not important, not effective. So whatever the objective is there and you are in application, you are there to attain those. So that comes through buffering from your memory. And the output that is there, if you understand things properly, output would be quite relevant. You will never suggest anybody to read while sleeping, because you exactly understand sleeping is a condition wherein nothing could be done, and reading is a condition wherein quite active mode is required, and both of them are opposite, so you do not suggest both of them. While suggesting, you do not reason. That is inbuilt condition for the reason of your understanding that has been attained in due course of time, and you are quite comfortable with that. मेरी बात समझ में आ रही है? I am trying to give you the key, with the help of which you will be able to write answer. And the moment you understand that centralization, decentralization, matrix organization, gangplank, but hierarchy is also required, division of work is also required, strict accountability, responsibility, and authority are also required. And all these you have studied at different places in public administration. And in one set of your task performance, you include those. While suggesting somebody, you will again automatically suggest about Karmi Yogi mission. By having all these things only will not suffice the purpose. There is requirement to have the commitment also. And then you'll automatically suggest. बोलना नहीं पड़ता इसके लिए, आप अपने से बताएंगे कि आप थोड़ा सा मोटिवेशन भी रख लो. जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं तो हायर लेवल पे क्या मोटिवेशन देना है, लोअर लेवल पे क्या मोटिवेशन देना है, ये लीडरशिप क्वालिटी में लोग फिडलर्स थ्योरी में समझ जाते हैं. बिकॉज फिडलर इज देयर टू प्रपोज कि साहब द लीडर्स शुड बी able to understand the ability of his followers in group and individual as well. तो lower level पे they are largely X type of people. तो McGregor आ गया. Are you getting my point? Sorry. How is it happening, sir? At one point of time, you are having all the tools. And then you have been given the objective. With the help of tools, which will be the relevant tool and all. So by giving example of Karma Yogi, you have made your answer contemporary. You have made the answer theoretical also. And that is the requirement. So for that, the most basic thing that is required is learning. Unless you are done with that, so would be difficult exactly to do the things. Herein, now, in very simple condition, for the reason of meaning of public administration. Oops. Everything is required to be. For the meaning of public administration, it includes everything. I'm not talking in terms of narrow or broader or other mechanisms, integral and managerial approaches. After doing all those, what we come to understand finally, that it includes everything in the process of doing things. And therein, Waldo becomes so relevant when he says, defining anything is basically paralyzing it. Because it does not include everything. And it is not possible to put everything regarding one thing in one paragraph or one sentence. In that perspective, now, but herein to write answer, you need to remember, because that may require examples to be given on. आप एक सीट बाएं हो जाइए, आप ठीक, उनको झुकना पड़ रहा है, आप ठीक. So therein you need to remember that you are knowing about the integral and managerial view. You are knowing about wider and narrow view. So this is for administration. This is for public administration. अच्छा, जहां पे बात नहीं समझ में आए फटाफट बोलने का, है ना? And then based upon these, there are combinations. Okay, with integral, there is narrow wide. With managerial, there is narrow wide. Scopes are there, and accordingly things are there. So when managerial and narrow is there, so this is the minimum one. The scope would be minimum one. And when it is wider and integral, it will be the highest one. Right? In this perspective, what you need to understand and then integrate things. When it is narrow approach, it is Luther-Gulick. When it is wider approach, it is Pfiffner. अब ये नाम याद आपको रखना पड़ेगा, because आप concept समझते हैं, but how will you refer it? Because if I am your examiner, so I need to know that you are there with, and this way we can easily visualize the increase in the scope for this reason only. And then in the contemporary condition, with the passage of time since Wilson to the condition of good governance or 2020s, we find that things have traveled through, and from here we have come down to here. And in course of that, what have been the inclusions? You need to refer. There was CPA, NPA with inclusion of relevance, social equity, change orientation, value laden. इतना ही सा लिखना है, उससे ज्यादा लिखने का मौका मिलता नहीं है. But with these reflections, your examiner will understand that you are being able to connect, because ultimate objective of the TPA or Wilson was also there to ensure good of people. And in today's world also there is good of people required. Now, to what extent this interconnection you could be able to substantiate, that is rather more important. And that should have a chronology. Will be possible only when you memorize the things. Right, sir? NPA, then again, herein we find a change is made from the previous one. And immediately after that, NPM is also there. It is also a change after globalization. Marketization has increased. And when this could not be able to suffice the purpose and over marketization happened, then, but yeah, whether service approach, public value management approach, all those came. When again, the most important thing from here came up, because Wilson was also there, largely concerned for the development of the good of people. And for that reason, at that, from the point of view of that prevalent time, he emphasized upon the role of state. And even in this condition today, there is role of state is being emphasized. Now you could interconnect it with state versus market debate, wherein market is required, but state is also required. And it is not only required, there is a strong state required there. Size may be lesser, but there is a requirement of a strong state. Think over it, if such reflections are there, static with you. Any question in the segment of first unit, then CPA, DPA, you will be able to answer quite effectively. Clear about? So how, to what extent you have been able to do this and memorize this? And according to this, the significance will increase. Answer तो यही होगा. आंसर यही होगा. जब सिग्निफिकेंस लिख रहे हैं तो उसका टेम्परामेंट चेंज हो जाएगा, because for the reason of the increase in the functions of public administration, wherein the state is emphasizing upon the good of the people with giving respect to the marketization also, and the state is adopting the market means also, so significance increases, na sir. With the new agenda, those have been included in CPA. After the new or contemporary CPA, in the days of say Farrell Hedy and O.P. Dwivedi, it has included a lot of things in itself which were not the part of TPA, traditional public administration, previously in 50s, 60s, and in 90s, 21st century, a lot of things, terrorism and cybercrime and all those have been included. And for all those, the state is bound to work. Why bound to work? Because basically public administration happens to be a tool in the hands of the government. And in a democratic system, no state can deny anything that is aspiration of people, good or bad. And as it is in the a tool in the hands of government, so it has to do everything. That is the idealist approach of scope of public administration. यही तो है. कहाँ कठिन है क्या? मुझे तो नहीं लगता. But only limitation is जो काम बच्चा नहीं करता है वो यही है, तो साहब वो याद नहीं, तो बिना याद किए कैसे होगा? If you do not memorize, तो ये नहीं हो. मैं बार बार ये बात कर, मतलब डे वन से मैं सब बच्चों को ये कहता हूं कि आप सिर्फ याद कर लो, बाकी काम भगवान अपने से कर देगा. पैसे होंगे आपके पॉकेट में तब ना आप निकाल कर देंगे. मन आपका जितना भी ट्रीट देने का हो, पैसे हैं नहीं, निकलेंगे कहां से? पॉकेट में हाथ डालने पर भी नहीं निकलेंगे. लेकिन पैसे हैं तो आपका मन भी कॉन्फिडेंट रहता है और जरूरत पड़ने पर आप उतने पैसे निकाल कर देते हैं, तो ट्रीट अच्छी हो जाती है ना? मेजर थिंग इज मेमोराइजेशन. अभी भी बहुत देर नहीं हुआ है. जाने आप लोगों ने कितना याद किया है? टिल व्हाट यू हैव बीन एबल टू मेमोराइज एंड रिटेन. One another thing, whenever I ask question to student सर रिवाइज करके बताएंगे, तो बहुत पीटेंगे. रिवाइज करके कहां बताएंगे? फिर तो हो नहीं पाएगा, है ना? So when you are in the process of getting prepared for civil service examination, Everything should be on fingertips. तब पट 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 याद आएगा. कोई भी काम हम लोग करते हैं तो एक हाथ से निकलेगा, एक उंगली से निकलेगा, पांचों उंगली से निकलेगा, दूसरा तुम भी पकड़ो वाला है. ये तो काम के मुताबिक सारी चीजें होती है, उसके मुताबिक तुम भी पकड़ो ऐसा कहते हैं. तो दैट तुम भी पकड़ो इज बेसिकली मेमोराइजेशन. राइट सर? चलिए. So then, in this perspective, let us pick up some questions. I hope the concept is clear. That much is a concept. बाकी इसी बात को हम लोग विभिन्न मना scholars and then different examples, different explanations से उसको prove करते हैं. बात इतनी ही सी. See your first question. It is the same administrative skill. लिखते हैं. It is the that is required in the industry, government, as well as home management. And the administrative process is universally identical. बताइए, how will you take this question? What are the key points of this question first? Read the question and identify what are the key points. Only that. It talks about the similarity, but that is the very common answer. How shall you improve that? ये ना question है. Same administrative skill. It is basically referring for administration, not public administration. When we are there to read meaning of public administration, we divide those into two. We say there is administration and there is public administration. When we say administration, it has got integral approach and managerial approach and has nothing to do. So it says integral or managerial either in public or private. So in public administration, it is government only, not private. And therein also it is a broader view and narrow view, or wider view and narrow view. In that perspective, the administrative skill is required over here also, no? So wider with integral approach is the approach of today. Because in integral approach, everything, top to bottom officials are involved. And in today's perspective, if only the managerial staff is involved, the work will not be done. And is the reason that relevance is there, that of wider and integral is top to bottom. And herein only top officials. In that perspective, you have to write. There is same administrative skill is required everywhere. पहली बात तो ये. Then says can required in industry, government as well as home management. Therein your question is, your answer is right. Herein, government and home management, government and industry. So it is public and private administration similar. Now, when you are referring this, if you refer some scholars also, it is good. When you refer like Simon, Smithberg, Thompson, they are there from integral school, but they are there from narrow school also. They have defined things in both manner. Ultimately, the objective of attaining this or similarity, what is the ultimate objective? Efficiency. Either it is a matter of type of administration, whatever, this one or this one. Narrow approach also has got relevance and limitations too are there, but objective is efficiency, objective effectiveness, because scholars from narrow approach and managerial approach are there to propose about the requirement, and objective is to generate efficiency. So herein the ultimate objective of all these is efficiency. To conclude the answer, बात समझ में आई? आपने क्या दो चीज जोड़े? Administrative skill and output is efficiency. Because why this requirement is there? That is the demand of examiner. Then you are improving your answer. Clear है बात? कुछ पूछना है? You have to write this first. What is administration? How do we say that it is required in both? And in course of that, importance of administration. How does it? What is administration? मतलब कि looking after the people. How does it do? Therein, reference of this and reference of this in the present condition. Whatever you start from the classical way, you have to come down in today's level. उतना जगह तो नहीं है कि आप लिख सकें 150 वर्ड ही तो लिखना है, 100 वर्ड ही तो लिखना है. With a reference, looking forward towards the effectiveness. बात समझ में आ रही है? चाहे तो लिख सकते हैं, 2 लाइन लिख लीजिए, कॉपी निकालिए. Administration is to manage, direct or serve. Administration is to manage, direct, to serve. अब इसको explain करिए. Explain this. Management, serve and direct. क्या होता है? बताइए तो क्या होता है? What do you mean by to serve? अच्छा, पहले तो घबराना नहीं है ना, आराम से उत्तर ही देना. गलत हो गया तो भी कोई बात नहीं. What do you mean by to serve? Providing something, only providing something. Look, these are the basic things. ये ना एकदम से स्टैंडर्ड होना चाहिए, तो खटाक से लिखना है इसको. अच्छा, ये नहीं पता कि यही होगा तो लिखेंगे. सारी चीजें ऐसे स्टैंडर्ड होनी चाहिए. Service is a function that serves the purpose of beneficiary. Unless the beneficiary is included, how will you be at service? You're getting my point? आपको भूख लगी और मैं आपको खूब अच्छे से पढ़ा रहा हूं, जितना भी अच्छा पढ़ाऊं आपकी जरूरत पूरी नहीं हो रही. आप भरपेट खा के आए हैं, आपको पढ़ाना है, मैं खाना खिला रहा हूं, तो जरूरत पूरी नहीं होगी. Unless it serves the purpose of the beneficiary, it is not service. To manage, देखिए ये सब ना हम लोग पहले दिन पढ़ते हैं और बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होता है. The moment we start reading in foundation course for public administration, so we pick up the first thing. meaning of public administration. We segregate public and administration, and we pick up public administration first, and we analyze those. In that analysis, very first thing that comes is the word administration has got different connotations: to serve, to direct, to manage, to implement, and everything has got its meaning and has got relationship. Think over it. To serve is not the matter integrated in administration. Will you be able to serve the purpose of the people living below poverty line? No. If the people are living in urban areas also, people are living in rural areas also, and requirement of people at the rural area, requirement of people at the urban area happen to be different. And if that service orientation would not be there in policy making, the effective policy making would not be there. And that is the major objective of administration that requires to be reflected in your answer. ये बच्चा नहीं समझता है, वो सीधा similarity लिख के चला आता है. So how will it be possible to find extra marks? Marks तो आ रहे हैं. We are talking hearing for extra marks. And that is nothing else than basic. इसमें कहीं current affair नहीं आता, एकदम bare basic आता है. When you understand bare basic, then you include it with आंगनवाड़ी. You can give example to sir. If it is Manrega, then it is basically serving the purpose in the rural areas. And in Manrega also the provisions are there. If the difficult areas are there, therein the DM has got the authority to change the purpose. If those 7 purposes are not there found in that, it does not mean that Manrega will not be implemented. What is that again? It is to serve. पहाड़ी इलाके में डैम नहीं बन सकता, तो वहां दूसरा काम करेंगे. Objective is development of people at the rural areas, not implementation of Manrega. Manrega is a tool, and that is the reason arrangement has been made that change could be accommodated and authority has been given to D. In the perspective of the requirement, is that not service? Don't you find that the same administrative skill and to serve is required? Then only the efficiency would be there. सोच कर देखिए, सिंपल सी तो बात है. आप मुझे खाना खिलाना चाहते हैं, आपको पता ही नहीं कि मैं वेजिटेरियन हूं कि नॉन वेजिटेरियन हूं, आपको ये पता ही नहीं कि मैं दिन में खाना ही नहीं खाता. Will you be able to serve me? Not at all. So that reflection, if is there in your answer, थोड़ा भी है तो मुझे तो समझ में आएगा. राइट सर. इसी बात को जो हम लोगों ने पूछा है, इसी बात को दूसरे तरीके से कह सकते हैं ना कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन मींस मैनेजमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स और लुकिंग आफ्टर पीपल. लिख लो इसको. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन मींस मैनेजमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स और लुकिंग आफ्टर द पीपल. It is a process of management. It is a process of management which is practiced by all kinds of organizations. Which is practiced by all kinds of organization. अब all kinds को आप कितना लंबा connotation दे सकते थे? From household to business affairs, government affairs. लिख लीजिए. From household to the most complex system of organization. ठीक है. I mean, in this perspective, you can again, by referring narrow and integral view, yeah, narrow and broader view, narrow and managerial view, you could conclude it for the reason of efficiency. With the reference of similarity, because even if it is similarity, the objective is efficiency. So what is required? What is required? कि you have to interpret the question first. Public administration की दिक्कत के रूप में यही एक चीज मुझे दिखती है कि आप प्रश्न को कितना समझते हैं. आंसर तो आसानी है, ना पढ़ने में मुश्किल है ना समझने में मुश्किल। हाँ, ये समझने में थोड़ा मुश्किल है कि प्रश्न पूछता क्या है, what does it want and how do you interpret that, and thereafter it is quite easy. I won't say easy only, एकदम आसान है। ठीक है, let us come to the next question. अच्छा, let me know one thing. Have you ever taught somebody public administration after reading public administration? Do it. 50 चीजें अपने साथ हो जाती, क्लियर हो जाती। You have learned, now you देख के ही सही, you teach somebody, because in course of doing that you'll find your expressions clear. What you feel and what are you saying, whether happen to be the same one or not, is most important thing. कई बार मैंने देखा बच्चा जो लिख के लाता है और जब पूछते हैं जो बोलता है, दोनों में एकदम अंतर होता है। वो जो सोचता है वो लिख ही नहीं पाता है, and that is main examination. Next question again, very easy, and I'll expect you to interpret. कि post score is too arbitrary, abstract, and misses the real substance of administration. ये है ना? हाँ, अब इसको मैं डिस्कस पूछ सकता हूं, कमेंट पूछ सकता हूं, क्रिटिकली इवेल्युएट पूछ सकता हूं। तो could you say me कि अच्छा what is अच्छा, उससे पहले ये कि this post score belongs to which view of meaning of and scope of public administration? Narrow, because post score is for public administration. It is managerial also, but it is narrow, right? चलिए, who has given it? बोले ये सब फट 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 नाम याद होना चाहिए, ठीक है? अच्छा, that means कि post score and narrow approach are the similar one, but is not the same one, right? Now let me know कि it is one of the criticism. अब यदि critic का नाम याद है तो और भी बढ़िया। Robert Dahl is the person to criticize it, है ना? Simon is the person, D. Waldo is the person to criticize it. तो जो wider view वाले हैं वो सब इसकी आलोचना करेंगे। ये एक तरीका है जानने समझने का, ठीक है साहब? Now how do you say that it is abstract and misses the real substance? What does it mean? जब हम कहते हैं कि it is arbitrary, what does it mean? वो आप तीसरे में क्यों चले आए, एक करके आते हैं? How is it arbitrary? That is related to narrow approach. Well, it considers that only narrow approach or post score is the means with the help of which we will be able to read public administration, which is arbitrary. As a matter of fact, this is not the condition. That is the reason it has been criticized by wider approach scholars. हो गया आंसर? 3 लाइन हो गए। ये तो पूछ रहे भाई साहब, मैं समझा पा रहा हूं। When it says कि arbitrary, it is expected that you should write answer. It is arbitrary because it considers only executive function. इसको थोड़ा और कम कर दीजिए, managerial function. But practically when we come down in today's world, it is not. There is a requirement of private and public, both of them to work. अब आंसर को और बढ़िया करना तो एक दो एग्जाम्पल दे दीजिए पीपीपी का। Effectiveness of PPP is there because by the means of PPP, India has been able to build a lot of infrastructures and facilitation and services have been increased, provided to the people. बहुत सारा काम, DND, this, that, 50 metro. आर्बिट्ररी हो गया, इट इज एब्स्ट्रैक्ट. Why is it abstract? It concentrates on managerial tools only. Planning, organizing, भाई साहब only managerial tool. इसके अलावा कुछ बोलता है? नीति कैसे बनाएंगे, कैसे लागू करेंगे, नीति का बात क्या है? Nothing is there. Nothing is there. Quite abstract. Where shall we use? And Lewis Merriam is there to criticize this postcode, thereby proposing the subject matter view. ये बातें तो लिखनी है आपको. How does it happen to be abstract? And the best example, best reference could be taken from Lewis Merriam, who proposes that without learning, without knowing the content and the subject matter of the area wherein the tools of postcode are to be implemented, if not known, will not be possible to utilize the efficiency of the tool, howsoever one is capable in postcode activities. Taking example of me, let us consider that postcode is properly known by your teacher. But will it be possible for me that I could be able to plan for NASA? Why? Physics आती ही नहीं है, एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स और एस्ट्रोनॉमी कुछ आती ही नहीं है, कहां से करेंगे? So it is abstract, wherein the tool will be, and you can give examples. You can give examples of DRDO. You can give example of law department, law ministry. Right, sir? हो गया 50-60 शब्द हो गए. And then it says it misses the real substance. जो आप बता रहे थे, बताइए क्या बता रहे थे? It is only managerial dimension. It does not discuss about the services to be delivered, good of people, aspirations of people, policy making, implementation, problems. किसी की बात नहीं करता. So herein, for this, you need to write all those criticisms to narrow approach. 3-4-5 पॉइंट जो है narrow approach के criticisms. It has intent of management only. ठीक है ना सर? And then you can again say कि postcode can neither be whole public administration nor significant part of it. अब जो abstract arbitrary लिखा उसका conclusion तो निकालेंगे. What you have explained are the basics. आपने मुझे बता दिया कि ये कैसे एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है, आर्बिट्ररी है और रियल सब्सटेंस को मिस करता है. अब कंक्लूड तो करेंगे. एंड देन वी फाइंड that this postcode is not capable of being identified other than anything management. So we cannot consider it whole administration. It is not. When we are there in Indian administration, we find that it does not contain reference of policy formulation and implementation. It is technique oriented rather than subject oriented, human oriented. तो human theorist ने, human school theorist ने आलोचना भी की है postcode किसी के लिए. It failed to cover all those emerging new agenda of public administration. Those we refer from the dimension of comparative public administration. Environmentalism, sustainable development, eco-friendly development, terrorism, ethnic crisis, gender equity. इसकी बात क्या करता है ये? उसके बिना काहे का पोस्ट को क्या करेंगे यार उसका? Is it clear? अब सोच कर देखिए कि if you are giving these things in your answer, तो क्यों नहीं नंबर आएगा? अच्छा, this is not the condition that you are not knowing these. I'm not speaking anything that you are not knowing. Only requirement is to manage those, arrange those in a manner that could be there with the requirement survey. तो वही वाली बात है. अमिताभ बच्चन का वो पुराना वाला सिनेमा नमक हलाल देखा है? हाँ, क्लासिक मूवी, कभी मौका मिले तो देखना. ओल्ड वाला नमक हलाल है ना, अमिताभ बच्चन जी का. उनसे जब नाम पूछा जाता है तो उनका नाम होता है अर्जुन सिंह. अपना नाम अर्जुन सिंह के साथ दादा नाना चाचा सबका नाम बता देते हैं. वल्द भीम सिंह, वल्द दशरथ सिंह, वल्द. ये भी नहीं करना है, because that will reflect that you are willing to give everything that you know. That is not required. You are supposed to do write that much which is required, which is demand of the question, and that is the reason you have been given limited space. ठीक है? Arbitrary abstract लिख लिया, समझ गए? लिखेंगे या समझ गए? Right. Now you have to final conclusion would be, but there is relevance of post-COVID event today in 21st century. सच्चाई तो यही है. When we include Levy's Merriam with subject matter view in post-COVID, it becomes the best one. Your conclusion should be in 21st century it is of high use. Post-COVID is of high use as it has large importance as checklist in the hands of managers. और जो तीसरा क्वेश्चन आपको है वो इसी का तो आंसर है. पढ़ो तीसरा क्वेश्चन. Although postcode formula was a useful and necessary development in 30s, but it proved to be too limited in explaining full scope of the dynamic field of today's public administration. तो जब डायनेमिक फील्ड बोलते हैं तो आपको सीपीए का जो चर्चा किया आज की जो जरूरत है उसको पहले लाएंगे. और फिर it is too limited because with the postcode conditions it would not be able to cover up these dynamic areas of work that is required in public administration today. है ना? And in course of that you could give some references of anti-development thesis, requirement of जो ट्रूमन ने आपने ये पढ़ा है कि हैरी ट्रूमन ने जो वेस्ट एंड रेस्ट का कॉन्सेप्ट दिया. And in course of that, the rest has got their own and different requirement of development than the requirement of West. So Western world have been able to develop themselves before Second World War by the means of industrialization and all. And the rest of the world, third world countries, happen to be within the control of colonial masters. So the developmental functions did not happen over there. So after Second World War, these newly independent countries require basically their infrastructural development. Na? Jabki the Western countries required advanced development. So both of them cannot happen to be similar. ये reference भी यहाँ आ सकता है. And that cannot be attained only by means of postcode. Because the requirement of West and rest happen to be different. And those are essential requirements because for that only the public administration is there. An ultimate objective of public administration is to cater the need of the people in the perspective of to serve. थर्ड वर्ल्ड को थर्ड वर्ल्ड के मुताबिक देंगे. गांव में जाके सबको आप आरओ दे दीजिए, रेफ्रिजरेटर दे दीजिए, क्या काम करेगा वो? जो कि दिल्ली जैसे शहर की जरूरत है जहां पर आरओ और रेफ्रिजरेटर बहुत जरूरी है. बहुत गर्मी पड़ती है और पानी इतने लंबे चौड़े पाइप के साथ जाता है तो गंदगी होना बिल्कुल स्वाभाविक है. उसको फिल्टर करने के लिए आरओ की जरूरत है. वो एसेंशियल रिक्वायरमेंट तो डेवलप कंट्री के लिए है ना भाई. ठीक है सर. चौथे नंबर पे आ जाए. कहता है कि द पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज नॉट ओनली द प्रोटेक्टर ऑफ सिविल लाइफ. इसको लिखना पड़ेगा. अच्छा, हियरिंग ऑल्सो we what discussed happen to be scope and significance. Too abstract or it is a matter of that is not capable of covering the dynamic field of present public administration. So all those are there in the scope only, na? Significance only, na? ये एक टास्क ये भी होता है बच्चों का कि जो क्वेश्चन मिलता है तो यू मैप इट कि फ्रॉम वेयर डज इट लाई. कई बार होता है कि हम सीपीए वाले क्वेश्चन को डीपीए में के डायमेंशन से लिख देते हैं. ये भी नहीं होना चाहिए. यू नीड टू मैप द क्वेश्चन इन द सिलेबस. Question number 4 is Public administration is not only the protector of civil life, rather happens to be great means of social change. And social development. Interpret the question. Again, very simple. Public administration is not only protector of civil life, rather happens to be great means of social change and social development. So basically, it is asking about the big role of public administration. So it is basically significance. And how shall you identify significance? By describing role functions. कितना रोल, कितने प्रकार का रोल गिना सकते हैं आप? And in course of doing that, you have to rely more upon the 21st century. Because when it is a matter of social change and social development, you need to define what is social change also and social development also. And in course of that, the role of public administration to perform the task. But social role change kya hai? What is social change? Darshil. सामाजिक बदलाव क्या है? Look, this is not public administration. This is your common understanding. ये लोग प्रशासन में पब्लिक एड के सिलेबस में कहीं नहीं बताते. What do you mean by social change? Ethical changes. समझे नहीं? I could not. That is social change. Stabilized economic development is social change. ये ऐसे का टॉपिक हो सकता है. कैसे? यही पूछना था आपको. अच्छा, मेरा प्रश्न आपने पूछ दिया. Look, one person is living at poverty line level. Then his social norms are there, social conditions are there, social beliefs are there, social status is there. He evolves entrepreneurship and increases his economic gains. Gradually, his society changes from below poverty to APL. He becomes big entrepreneur. He enters into elite. Is that not social change? When he was there without any job, living at poverty line level, he got married with the similar level. But when he evolves himself for the reason of economic development and economic gains, then when he goes to find a son-in-law, he does not go in the poverty line level. And all these are there for the reason of that stabilized economic development. एक दिन लॉटरी मिल गई, 10 लाख रुपए मिल गए, उससे चेंज नहीं होगा, फिर वो 2 महीने में 2 साल में वहीं आ जाएगा. बट इफ नौकरी मिलती है तो उसका स्टेटस बढ़ता है, फिर स्टेटस बढ़ता है, प्रमोशन होता है तो बढ़ता है, अपने बच्चों की शादी करता है, उस हायर लेवल जाता है. Gradually that is social change, and therein the society changes in collective manner also. This Manrega has changed the condition of the rural areas. That is social change. For the reason of the impact of ICT, internet facilities and all those have brought changes in the society, Indian society. Massive changes are there. And the facility of ICT could be how? It requires money. With all those economic developments, economic changes, economic developments occurring in the society, and if it is in a stabilized condition, the social changes occur, social development occur. Now, in this perspective, सारा काम तो सरकार ही करती है. Right from the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan to midday meal to Article 21A. Right from for the health reasons, free क्या बोलते हैं उसको, आशा worker, to prenatal service, to delivery service, to postnatal services. Subsidies being given to people living below poverty line and others. And then the government hospital facilities, free immunization program till 10 years. And in between, the free education, and then midday meal, and then Skill India. कौन कर रहा है? सही तो बोल रही है. It's not just protector of civil life. तो protector of civil life के मतलब में क्या करता है ये? Law and order का काम. लेकिन सब सिर्फ यही नहीं करता. Great means of कौन? ऐसी कोई बात जो आप नहीं जानते हैं. That has to be put in a manner. You have to visualize that what are the areas covered under this. How could it be done? Interpretation of the question. आपसे जो पूछा जा रहा है उसको आप इंटरप्रेट कर लीजिए. You understand Hindi ना? हाँ. Are you getting my point? So public administration refers to the implementation of government policies and programs to address public need and deliver public service efficiently and effectively. उसी बात को इस तरीके से लिख लीजिए. ना when we are there with herein you could add that public service approach, public value management, role of market, NPM. You can refer this strong versus market debate. Market is required, but the state is similarly required, and there is requirement of that may be a small state but a strong state. When you are taking care of all those say Manrega and the government efforts, all those are there basically on the basis of this public service management approach. That human dimension. You can quote Victor Broom, expectancy theory, because if one knows that when he will go to school, he will find midday meal. That expectancy is there now, and by this expectancy theory of Victor Broom, the government is basically attaining what? Education. Is that not in the perspective of the social change? पढ़ा लिखा बच्चा बेहतर लेबर होगा. लिख लीजिए कि public administration refers to the implementation of government policies and programs. To address public needs and deliver public services efficiently and effectively. ठीक है सर. Now, if you interpret what are the primary objectives, the requirement of people to promote well-being of society, ensure fair and equitable distribution of resources and opportunities as well. तो कैसे होगा भाई? What are the functions done by the government for this? Public administration क्या क्या करती है? जितने काम करते हैं सब उसमें आएगा. Policy formation, policy implementation, equity and access of the government to the public, government to people and people to government, vice versa. Transparency and accountability. The citizen charter is one of the main means. Social audit is the another means. By all this citizen charter and social audit, the government takes the responsibility, so to say, accountability for the development of people, and that is public administration doing things with greater change. Lokpal Lok Ayukt, good side. RTI is the another one. All those will come into it. And now you need to refer to this. हम क्यों पढ़ते हैं? Why do we read? आप तो सिर्फ सिविल सर्विस से बाहर ही नहीं निकल पा रहे. ठीक है, मतलब इन जनरल क्यों पढ़ते हैं? Responsible person. Who could be a responsible person? Who is a knowledgeable person, who understands what is to be done, what should not be done, what is right to be done, what is not right to be done. And accordingly one identifies, and accordingly one behaves, accordingly one takes responsibility, accordingly one takes accountability, accordingly one suggests. तो पॉलिसी मेकिंग वही तो है ना? एडवोकेसी एंड कोलैबोरेशन, पॉइंट्स लिख लीजिए. एडवोकेसी एंड कोलैबोरेशन, एडवोकेसी ऑफ गुड ऑफ पीपल and collaboration with people and private sector. Service delivery and access of people to services. हम सिर्फ आपको सुविधा नहीं दे रहे, अवेयरनेस भी जनरेट करते हैं. There is not only family planning program, rather the benefits of family planning program and use of contraceptives are also being generated as awareness. सिर्फ उपलब्ध नहीं कराया जा रहा है, ये भी बताया जा रहा है इसका लाभ क्या होगा और इसका इस्तेमाल कैसे करेंगे. When the slogan is there कि बड़ा परिवार दुखी परिवार, छोटा परिवार सुखी परिवार, is that not generating awareness among the mass? अब तो नहीं होता, लेकिन आज से 10 साल 15 साल 20 साल पहले जब मैं छोटा होता था तो गांव के स्कूल पे उसमें सब बड़ा बड़ा पोस्टर ऐसा लगा लिखा होता था पीले और लाल और काले रंग से, उसमें ये बातें बताई जाती थी. Is that not in the perspective of development of people? Because one of the biggest problem of any third world country is population control, and by means of that, so therein both of the things are being performed. It is not just generating awareness, rather giving access also, and that is very important because that is the place wherein people participation has to be ensured. So that is one of the important point to be mentioned. हम कितना भी बढ़िया पढ़ा लें, आप यदि पढ़ना नहीं चाहेंगे तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता, कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. So people participation is most essential. We have been able to understand, especially when it is a matter of basic growth, basic development, population growth control. भाई साहब बिना people participation के नहीं होगा. Education बिना people participation के नहीं होगा. मेंटेनेंस ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सरकार बना तो देगी, आज बनाई कलम खोद दी. फॉरेस्टेशन बिना पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन के नहीं होगा. सरकार पौधे तो लगा सकती है, ग्रूमिंग तो जनता की मदद से करना पड़ेगा, कम से कम कुछ और ना करे, उसको डिस्ट्रॉय ना करे, वो पानी ना दे उसमें जाके, लेकिन उसके पत्ते तोड़े ना, पौधे को उखाड़ कर अपने घर में लेकर ना लगाए, या बाकी तो विदाउट पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन इट नॉट बी पॉसिबल ना। दैट इज वन ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट टू बी एम्फसाइज एवरीवेयर, जहां मौका मिले ना, ये एक्सेसिबिलिटी को, अवेयरनेस जनरेशन को जरूर जोड़िए किसी भी आंसर में, बिकॉज इट इज मोस्ट अलार्मिंग पार्ट। सिमिलरली सोशल इक्विटी, अच्छा नॉट ओनली सोशल इक्विटी, इंक्लूजन ऑफ द डाउन ट्रोडन पीपल, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, बिकॉज द सर्विसेज ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू द एलीट पीपल, हायर मिडिल क्लास, services of government is essentially required to the people living at the poverty line, who are not skilled, who are not capable of doing things, who do not have capital, and for the reason of socialist state nature, for the reason of welfare state, for the reason of fundamental rights, it is the duty of the state to sustain whole population. रैन बसेरा जो बनता है वो जन सरकार के इसी दायित्व के आधार पर बनता है ना, कि ठीक है कि वो भिखारी है, ठीक है कि वो कुछ नहीं करता है, ठीक है कि वो सरकार पर बर्डन है, लेकिन आदमी तो है, सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया तो है, and therein the government is liable to take responsibility, it is liable, it is the duty of citizen state. ये तो पॉइंट देने पड़ेंगे ना, ये सब, क्योंकि आप सिविल सर्वेंट के रूप में करेंगे क्या, यही तो काम करना है आपको। अच्छा, advocacy of the social issues and mobilization, so in course of that, role of non-government organizations are very important. और आज जब हम सिविल सोसाइटी के रूप में मॉडर्न गवर्नमेंट की बात करते हैं, तो सिविल सोसाइटी इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी पार्ट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, outsourcing is one of the mechanism, and NGOs, non-government organizations, happen to be arms of the government to perform the task. Number of such areas are there wherein the government cannot perform. AIDS awareness सरकार से नहीं होगा, वहां पे NGO ही काम करती है, वही इफेक्टिव है। Tracking the AIDS affected people, government is doing, but government is doing it with the help of the NGOs. सरकार का डॉक्टर जाएगा तो भाग ही जाएगा वो। Informally only such patients can be identified and tracked and followed. Is it not a condition wherein the government is taking direct responsibility? जिसके पास पैसा भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, सरकार उसको मोटिवेट करके हेल्थ सेंटर तक लाती है, इसके लिए एनजीओ को पैसे देती है, एनजीओ काम करता है, एक एक का नाम रखता है, किसी को बताता नहीं कि वो आदमी एड्स से अफेक्टेड है, उसको चुपचाप बुलाता है, नहीं तो उसे घर पे पहुंचाता है। ऑल दीज फंक्शंस आर बीइंग परफॉर्म्ड विद द हेल्प ऑफ द एनजीओस। इज इट नॉट सोशल डेवलपमेंट? एंड डोंट यू फाइंड दैट दीज फंक्शंस हैपन टू बी वेरी क्रिटिकल? क्योंकि एक एड्स वाले आदमी को छोड़ दें तो वो 50 जगह और फैला सकता है, तो पहले तो जिसको है उसी को रोकिए, फिर उसको अवेयरनेस जनरेट कीजिए कि वो दूसरों तक नहीं पहुंचाए, तीसरी बात की रिहेबिलिटेट कीजिए। ये सारे काम सरकार की मदद से हो रहे हैं और सारे काम हो रहे हैं, राइट सर? ये तो रिफ्लेक्शन कॉपी में आता नहीं साहब, तो नंबर कैसे दें? और जिनकी कॉपी आप देखेंगे यू विल फाइंड दीज थिंग्स आर, जो टॉपर्स की कॉपी आप लोग देखते हैं, you identify things, you will find these things are added into that. अच्छा, in course of all those, for the reason of development, one of the another important thing that is required and is done by the government only, that is conflict management. भाई तुमको दे दिया तो बोला हमको काहे नहीं दिया, तो बस उसको ठंडा करना पड़ेगा या उसको भी कुछ देना पड़ेगा, इतना विश्वास दिलाना पड़ेगा पहले इसका हो जाए तो तुमको भी देंगे। It's not only at the social level, economic level, it is at the religious level. Reservation is being given and the demand for EWS is there. Is it not rivalry? It is. It is. And to restrict them not by not giving EWS reservation, or by giving them and extending it beyond 40%, then there could be conflict with the generals and with the reservation class as well. All these are the conflicts those are required to be managed. So यहाँ पर you could give the example of MP falling. That integration is the only way. And government is there in the position to perform the role of integrator. And that is being done basically. When the policy making is there, in course of making policy, that integration part is taken care of. That is the reason Manrega type of program is there. And in course of that, when the people living below poverty line and the woman above age of 18 years for first 2 births, when the economic assistance is given, so then religion is not the barrier. Is that not conflict management? Yes. Is that not condition of integration? Yes. Right, sir? So conflict resolution, conflict management, and in course of that, mediation between different classes of the society. And all those are leading to social development, social change. And all those are done by अभी डिस्कस में हो, कमेंट में हो, critical evaluation में हो, conclusion यही होगा. And you have to increase and decrease the size of your answer and the explanations. For the reason of this effective social change and social development, some other things also required, and those are taken care of by the government, like commitment of bureaucrats. Without having commitment of bureaucrats, it will not be possible to take up these. And Mission Karmayogi is in the similar manner, na? So it is important to note that effectiveness of public administration is driving social change and social justice, and all these depend upon the commitment of public service, depend upon the quality of the governance system, depends upon the engagement being found by the government of the people participation के संदर्भ में. And there is also a requirement to uphold the ethical dimensions. Sort of empathy is there. So by upholding ethical standard, promoting social values, prioritizing well-being of all citizens, public administration can work and is functioning as a catalyst. That is social development. ठीक है सर? ये भी है. That is regarding the 5th question is there regarding the scope of public administration. The expanded role of government in the contemporary world the scope of public administration has swelled virtually including everything. Nevertheless, the big state today is rolling back to minimal state with strong. बताइए कि this question integrates two important topics of syllabus. कौन कौन है वो? पब्लिक चॉइस थ्योरी से आगे की बात है, ये पोस्ट एनपीएम की बात है. क्या कहता है ये? मिनिमल स्टेट. तो पब्लिक चॉइस अप्रोच तो शुरू हुआ, लेकिन ये तो एनपीएम पोस्ट एनपीएम में आया. पब्लिक चॉइस अप्रोच was just proposal that increased and got implemented during NPM when marketization came up, but only with the 2008 economic crisis. Conditions evolved wherein scholars came to understand that only marketization would not suffice the purpose, and there is requirement of a state. And then they agreed to accommodate both of them in a balanced condition with a strong status of state. That is state versus market debate. ठीक है, तो बेसिकली दिस इज द कंटेम्परेरी व्यू ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. स्कोप में कई व्यूज हैं. बेसिकली दिस रेफर्स टू contemporary view of public administration. Stephen Belly, Ridley, D. Waldo. आंसर खत्म. Contemporary view is the latest one, and that is there to reflect for balancing the things. Narrow approach, wider approach, post-core, ideal view, comparative view, market view, all those are there. But contemporary view is the latest one. Bailey, Stephen Bailey and Ridley are the players, scholars. And when you go to find out Bailey's view, so therein he is there to refer descriptive, normative, assumptive, instrumentive. Ridley is there to reflect what and who, what all and who all. So basically, both these scholars are there proposing for a balanced view, wherein the traditional methodology, traditional objectives are there. With the traditional objectives, there is need to have the role of market also. So that's a balanced view. And if this market and state, or say the balanced view or the contemporary conditions have been included, so size will swell. Scope of public administration will swell. And then therein reference is required to give what are the things those have been included, that the scope has increased. तो इसी को ट्रेडिशनल रूप में पढ़ते हैं कि the scope of public administration is ever expanding. वही वाली बात को दूसरे तरीके से पूछ दिया, बात वही है. And when we are there to refer conditions of ever expanding, will start things from the scope of TPA, the initial one, wherein the objective was to take care of the efficient functioning of government only. उसके बाद कुछ नहीं, सरकार अच्छे से काम कर ले, यही उद्देश्य था उसका. And will travel through CPA, specifically NPA. वही सारी बात है, wherein it refers for relevance, it refers for value laden, it refers for client orientation. With the increased new things in the study of public administration, will it not swell? Now it is when the NPA scholars were there, so they proposed that the scholars should not only propose the mechanisms of performance, they should also involve to establish administration. सिर्फ बताना नहीं कि तरीका ऐसा हो, बोला भाई करके भी बताओ, क्योंकि जो बता रहा है कि तरीका ऐसा है, this is the mechanism with the help of which the task could be performed, who is evolving this, he will better be in the position to implement those. So by evolving and implementing, they should train the junior bureaucrats so that they could gain skill at the earliest. That is responsibility being taken by the scholars for the administrative works also. And in course of that, involvement of people and scholars, making it multidisciplinary. अब ये बताना पड़ेगा ना भाई साहब कि herein, if Robert Dahl type of person is there and who is proposing that if there is a requirement of interdisciplinary study, तो साहब स्कोप तो बढ़ गया ना, अब इसको पॉलिटिकल साइंस में पढ़ना पड़ेगा, इकोनॉमिक्स में पढ़ना पड़ेगा. और जब इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ता है, पॉलिटिकल साइंस पढ़ता है, तो पब्लिक चॉइस अप्रोच आ जाता है, तो मार्केट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ जाती है. All these are swelling the price, that is ever expanding. बात एक ही है. And in this way, we find that the public administration is working as in the role of big government. एकदम शुरू में पढ़ते हैं कि the role of public administration, and then we take a traditional question to make you write the role of public administration as a big government, from cradle to grave, from womb to tomb. यही तो question बनता है, and that is related to role of public administration. In post 90s, in the NPM phase and onward, we find a lot of things are there. तो public private partnership पढ़ना पड़ेगा, तो सब scope नहीं बढ़ा. तो public private partnership, privatization of public services, regulatory framework, public private collaboration in policy making, economic development initiatives, social welfare schemes, non-profit sector. All these are the CSR, corporate social responsibility. That is also policy of the government based upon which the development of the people is happening, and that is basically role of public administration, wherein public administration is taking care of ensuring this, seeking participation and ensuring the development of the local area. So scope will increase. Now, with all these developments have happened for the reason of the increase in the role of public administration, wherein a lot of things have been replaced and a lot of new things have been included. And in course of inclusions, post-90s have relied more upon the market, which is not right. And therein we find that there is requirement of market, but in a limited manner. And requirement of market does not say that the state should die. So the state is rolling back to minimal status. And that is conditions of present time that we take up as neoliberalism. But strong state is required. And in course of this changed condition, other challenges are also there. Kya challenges, bhai? So the state needs to take larger accountability and transparency. Because if the market will be at work, so market has got, private sector has got ultimate objective of profit. So market cannot be given the responsibility. Rather, market mechanisms could be used as tool. Like NGOs are being used. Now, if the market mechanism, even though being given larger area of work, but should always remain in the status of a tool, and it will be possible only when the state is there. Size may be smaller, but should be strong state. We can take example of Sahara India in India. That Sahara India chit fund, 25,000 crore rupees janta ka. If SEBI and government and Supreme Court means a state would not have been there, then that much of paisa would have gone and would have direct loss to people. Could be said only for the reason of the state intervention. So therein, the role of state is essential. Right, sir? तो इसका दोनों part हो गया. Size has swelled, and nevertheless, there is need of strong state, and especially in developing countries. In developed country, the conditions are different, wherein ethical generations are more, abundance of resources are higher, people are affluent. But in developing societies, prismatic conditions are there. In prismatic condition also, eoprismatic conditions are there. But whole condition is not like eoprismatic, and so there is requirement to have a strong state, because the nature of Sala model prevails in prismatic society or say developing countries. So therein there is need to have control, right, sir? आगे चलें. Question number 6. ये तो आसान क्वेश्चन है. बताइए क्या ये? It says कि public administration as an activity includes various activities of government based on people's expectation and their good life. You can give reference of this. Initially, before Second World War, there was laissez-faire. State was supposed to do minimum. State was not there, was not the condition, but the prevalence of capitalism was there, and the developmental function or role of public administration, state's role, etc., were found only in America and some of the developed countries of Europe. Before Second World War, तो वही थे. And there was laissez-faire. Thereafter, police state came. And larger world was governed by police state colonial mechanism. Asia, Africa, Latin America. After Second World War, when the newly independent countries were there, the role of state changed as welfare state. Achha, all these changes are occurring for the reason of the expectation of demand of people only. जब laissez-faire चल रहा था 1929-30 29-30 में जब इकोनॉमिक डिप्रेशन आया, so it was expected by the people that the state will come forward to take the responsibility, and New Deal was there. It was expectation of people only, na, that state came up. उसके पहले laissez-faire का condition था, then welfare state हो गया. क्यों welfare state हुआ? Because it was expected by the people. So system is running on the basis of the expectation of people only, na. Later on, after Second World War, when newly independent countries were there, so the concept of welfare state became more prominent, especially in the developing countries. People were not having that much of resource, were not capable of taking lead by themselves. So during 19th century, there was laissez-faire, thereafter welfare state, and thereafter, after 90s, good governance concept. So we are there with the marketization. Is it not the demand of the people? Yes, because till 80s, in the developing countries, it was found that since 40s, after Second World War and onward, तो 40 साल कम से कम हो गए. 35-40 साल में the developing countries could not be able to find development. We can take example of India. First, second, third, fourth तो खत्म है. or the five-year plans could not be able to mark any development. Number of crises were there, wars and all. World crisis was there in 70s. There was oil crisis and all. So all those got affected. Ultimately, we find the development was not there. 80 tak mein. That was the reason that the assignment of marketization was there. The visualization was there that as state is not being able to evolve everything. The development is not happening. And in course of a mechanism of state to ensure development is not there and it is incurring lot of expenses. And all of them are there to increase the budget deficit. Because the money those who are spent for the reason of maintaining state were non-productive. So expenses happened very high and inflation increased. And development is not there. So the concept came up, the market is required. So is it not people's expectation? Yes. So to make sure that people's expectation, aspirations are fulfilled, the government is there to do a lot of things, and that is policy making. Now, mind it, the policy making is done by government, but who is government? It is people, na? It should not be considered it is being done by the government and the people are segregated. As a matter of fact, in a democratic system, the government is there, which is there to represent the people. You can think of it, and you might be knowing, as a matter of fact, the prevalence is given to political ministers, political masters, only for this reason. Bureaucrats are educated one, having lot of experiences, treasure of everything is there, but they are not given prevalence. It has been legally established that the will of the political leader will be higher. And the secretariat will work, directorate will work in accordance with the wishes of the political leader. That is basically giving prevalence to the people's expectation, because people's will are being represented by the legislators, parliamentarians. And then if the policy making is there, so that is with the expectation of people, because the policies, those are there being implemented, framed and implemented, they are being framed by means of the majority. So majority of people are willing for that. So policy making and its implementation. And whenever we find that one policy does not fit, it is withdrawn. We have got the example of farm laws. And all those policy making or say implementation, effective implementation are having ultimate objective of service delivery. So service delivery and implementation of public programs, so that is to fulfill effective service delivery is being ensured. Objective is need fulfillment of expectations of people. Regulation and compliance, public engagement and participation, emergency and crisis management, organizational management, performance evaluation and improvement, and ethical and transparent governance. Ethical and transparent governance. So all these are performed by the government only on the basis of the aspirations and expectations of people. And people have a big tool, that is election. So when Modi ji today is doing everything only in the perspective of finding mandate next time, so is that not a condition wherein everything only as per the aspirations and expectations of people are being performed. There is rejection of one party and one other party is given mandate. So that is basically people's expectation. Next one. ये तो हम लोगों ने बात किया है कि every single sentence on definition of public administration is a mental paralysis. It does not enlighten. So when we come down to the contingency theory while reading all the administrative theories, classical, neoclassical, modern, last में क्या पढ़ते हैं? Contingency. क्या है contingency theory? There is साहब. What is contingency theory? Contingency theory नहीं पढ़े? बताइए भाई, contingency theory क्या है? पानी दिया तुम? पानी उस लोगों को पिला दिया, तुम पानी दिया हमको? नहीं, पानी लेके जल्दी से लेके आओ. बताइए कंटिजेंसी क्या है, खोज के भी बताइए, कोई बात नहीं, कॉपी आपके पास है. तो आपने लीडर, आप तो हमको लीडरशिप में लेके चले गए. कंटिजेंसी थियरी ऑफ लीडरशिप. अच्छा, मैंने आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल बिहेवियर में पूछा, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल थियरी में पूछा. फिर आप जो बता रहे हो तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल बिहेवियर है ना. When we read administrative thought, है ना, those are classified into 3 categories. Classical approach, theories, फिर neoclassical. पढ़ेंगे हम लोग, अगले 1-2 सेशन के बाद आएगा. और मॉडर्न, है ना. तो जब क्लासिकल अप्रोच पढ़ते हैं तो दिस इज एसएमटी, सीएमटी, आइडियल ब्यूरोक्रेसी. जब नियो क्लासिकल पढ़ते हैं तो इट रेफर्स फॉर सोशियो साइकोलॉजिकल अप्रोच, और से एचआरटी मतलब बिहेवियरलिज्म and all the socio-psychological theories. And herein it is environmental approach, ecological theory, है ना. इन सब के बाद ultimately when we complete all these, thereafter there is one contingency theory. What it says, that is law of situation, and reference could be found in following. As a matter of fact, no theory happens to be most effective. Neither it is possible, because which theory shall be effective could only be known on the basis of the situation prevailing. So we work on the basis of contingency mechanism. Thank you, sir. मैं बता रहा हूं. That what you are saying is contingency theory of leadership. He बोल रहे थे ना, there is contingency theory of leadership, that is Fiedler. That is those are the part of situational theory of leadership, है ना. Philosophy may be the same one, but in organizational theory there is contingency theory and then critical theory. So jargon Habermas. So contingency theory basically proposes कि साहब, there is no one theory which is effectively capable of resolving everything, because situations those prevail are not under our control. Right? So that is understanding. Based upon that question जो हमारा है कि that means कि one single sentence or one single definition, one particular idea, it is not possible, and it is not possible to give all ideas in one. We will have narrow approach. Narrow and wider both is not possible. And for that reason, we are there with the contemporary view, wherein balanced approach with the inclusion of narrow, wider, both are there. Will be possible. But that by that way, definition cannot be given. And that is the proposal of Waldo. क्या करेंगे इसमें? बात समझ में आ गई क्या है? लिखेंगे कैसे इसको ये बताओ? कैसे लिखेंगे धैर्यशील? क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 लिखेंगे कैसे? कंटीजेंसी थ्योरी के बारे में पहले लिख देंगे. अच्छा, you will need to give reference of all different approaches to define public administration. Narrow, wide, political thought, legal approach, public welfare approach, different approaches to define. थोड़े में क्या line में. And then you need to write none of them happen to be perfect, because every approach has been criticized. When we discuss the narrow approach to define public administration, we criticize. When we define wider approach of public administration, we criticize from narrow approach. So all approaches whatsoever are there to define public administration, all of them have been criticized. That means that none of them is unanimously accepted and is not capable of giving overall coverage. So every view on public administration is constrained by time and circumstances, as state is ever evolving and ever changing, and aspirations of people also are changing. These are not static. So ultimately, the study of public administration also happens to be ever evolving. And there is some reference of expanding the scope of public administration that you were saying could be there. There is the reference of from TPA to present day, good governance, civil society could be referred. So what we find from one point of view, the definition is given, so that instead of giving clarity, rather confuses. And so Waldo is right. What he says is administration is a dependent variable. Administration को अपना तो काम करना नहीं, administration एक mechanism है. अपना कोई काम नहीं करना है इसको. आपका काम करना है. और आपकी जरूरत स्थिर है नहीं. Your needs are changing. अभी हम लोगों ने बहुत सारी बात उसमें की. So in that, सोचो ना कि when the information technology was not in use in massive way, so e-governance too was not there. With the induction of information technology and technological enhancements, we are bound to have e-governance. And based upon that, we find lot of facilities are there. एक समय था कि कैश की जब जरूरत होती थी तो छुट्टी लेकर क्लास को बंद करके फिर बैंक जाना होता था. और वहां इतनी भीड़ होती थी कि खड़े खड़े अब लंच हो गया, तो जो 1 बजे तक का क्लास रोका था अब फिर वहां से फोन करके बताना पड़ता है कि सर अब तो 1 बजे लंच में चले गए, 1:30 बजे आएंगे, उसके बाद मेरा नंबर आएगा तो अब दूसरा क्लास भी नहीं हो पाएगा, इतनी दिक्कत थी। आज क्या है, उसकी बात ही नहीं करते हम। रात में 11 बजे जब सब काम से फिनिश होते 5 मिनट लगता है, सारे यूटिलिटी बिल्स खट 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 खत्म। कैश कैरी करने की जरूरत नहीं होती, अब तो प्लास्टिक मनी की बात करते हैं। उसमें भी अब एक कदम और आगे हो गए लोग कि अब डेबिट कार्ड से क्रेडिट कार्ड पर चलेगा, पैसा नहीं है तो भी आप खरीद लेंगे सामान। ऑल दीज आर देयर फॉर द रीजन ऑफ use of ICT in mechanism, information technology is being used. So that way what we find कि administration is dependent variable. It is there to accommodate, assimilate, respond according to the need of the सामने वाला. In this perspective, sir, is it possible that a definition could be given? So it is a dependent variable. It is affected by social, political, cultural environment, and environment is never static. So administration is a never static thing, rather ever changing. And so Waldo happens to be quite relevant. यहाँ पे सिर्फ आपको ध्यान क्या रखना है कि you have to refer those mechanisms, क्योंकि जिसकी आप आलोचना करेंगे और जिसके आधार पर आप वाल्डो को सही बता रहे हैं वो तो बताना पड़ेगा। सबका मत बताइए, कुछ तो बताना पड़ेगा मेजर जो है, so that the examiner could have the reflection कि you understand the need of the question. ठीक है? Question number 8, it is quite informative and factual. कहता है कि the administration is indispensable. Indispensable. थक गए? You need rest? Need break? नहीं ना? अच्छा इसमें क्या break? सही है? सही है? ट्रेडिशनल आंसर है ये। अब मुद्दा ये नहीं है, आंसर तो ट्रेडिशनल है, आप इसको अच्छा कैसे बनाएंगे? ट्रेडिशनल आंसर है कि you have to write all those role of public administration from the point of view of big government, from whom to whom. What I propose for the big government role, the state's presence is there even before birth of a child. आशा वर्कर, प्रीनेटल सर्विसेज दिया तो बच्चे के जन्म के पहले का है, सारे उसको, अच्छा सरकार ने उसको पैसे दिए फॉर द अपकीप ऑफ द हेल्थ ऑफ मदर. हेल्थ ऑफ मदर इज बेसिकली सर्विस टू अ पर्सन इन द वूम. तो सरकार जन्म में आने से पहले से आपके लिए काम कर रही है. जैसे ही आप धरती पर आते हैं सरकारी सेवा मिलती है आपको. that delivery service is there. Immunization program starts from there till 10 years. पूरा काम करते हैं. When one dies, even after one death of one person, the state is there at work. कैसे? तो for the government service there is family pension. मेरी मृत्यु के बाद मैं सरकारी सेवक हूं, मेरी पत्नी को फैमिली पेंशन मिलता है जब तक वो जीवित है, 1/3 of the family pension. Is it not the role of the state after my death? Yes, because my concern is कि my family, at least my wife in her older days could live properly, and that for that reason I earn. For that reason I do everything and state is expected to take care of. The family pension is one, that is one of the rules. Apart, despite this, if I am not a government servant, I have earned some money. 50 lakh rupiya, 10 rupiya, some money and property I have earned. Therein also, you might be knowing about one of the function of High Court, original function of High Court, that is probate. What is this? Probate क्या है? PROBATE, probate. One of the important function of High Court as original jurisdiction is probate. क्या है वो? Probate क्या है? सुना है कि नहीं सुना है? सुना है, याद नहीं आ रहा है. इट इज वैलिडेशन ऑफ विल बिफोर इट्स एक्सक्यूशन. तो मैं जब जीवित था, मैंने 1 करोड़ रुपए कमाए और अब मेरी मृत्यु हो गई. मैं क्या चाहूंगा? ये पैसा किसी को चला जाए. मेरी इच्छा कुछ भी हो सकती है. मैं चाहूँ किसी को दान दे दूं, ट्रस्ट बना दूं. मेरी पत्नी को जाए, पूरा मेरी पत्नी को जाए, मेरे बेटों को नहीं जाए, पूरा मेरे बेटों को जाए, पत्नी को नहीं जाए, मेरे बेटे पत्नी को नहीं, सब मेरे नाती को चला जाए, सब मेरे पोते को चला जाए. एनीथिंग सॉर्ट ऑफ. दैट इज माय विल एज आई हैव अर्न, सो आई हैव गॉट द राइट. बट आई एम नॉट नाउ देयर. I have written a will. If I'm not there, I'm not there to fight what is happening, right or wrong or what. But the state is there to respect my will, my wishes through will. And that probate function is there, wherein the will is validated before its implementation by the High Court. Is it not the role of state in my perspective? Yes. By that way, we can say it functions from womb to tomb. ये तो ट्रेडिशनल फंक्शन है. Even after that, what could you improve? What can be done as role of, for the reason of PSA? Now, for the reason of the ethics included in the civil service, for the reason of empathy in the perspective of that mission, Karmyogi is there. By means of all these, that social awareness generation, involvement of civil servants for the reason of development. All these are the areas wherein the state has become indispensable, not only for the physical support, it is there for the mental support also. We are having mental asylums. कोई भी आदमी यदि मेरे परिवार का व्यक्ति हो और यदि वो पागल हो गया हो तो हम उसको घर में नहीं रख सकते. This is law, and that is not safe as well for the rest of the family and the affected person as well. And all these are managed by government. Right, sir? So that way it is indispensable, and anything that we are living, we are doing, is not possible to perform without rule of state. So it is indispensable. अब उसमें जितनी बात आप लिख सकते हैं, जितना रेलिवेंट बात, करंट बात आप लिखिए, उतना बढ़ेगा. क्वेश्चन नंबर 9. उसमें कुछ क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 हो गया. अच्छा, क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 में एक है, वहां लिख दिया कंटेम्परेरी बेस. कर लीजिए इसको कंटेम्परेरी फेज. बेस है, उसको फेज कर लीजिए. टाइपिंग एरर है. मार्केट लेकर लिख के क्या करेंगे? But in the present perspective, the government includes market. Private sector is included within that when we are with PPP at work. So therein the role of private sector is there. Right? So herein, instead of writing about lacuna, you should write about the relevance. Everything those are being performed by public service. All of them could be written over here. So it's a factual and detailed question. And then question number 9. Public interest in हो गया है, वहां उसको ease कर दीजिए. Public interest is the major concern of public administration. Why? So let me know first, what do you mean by this public interest? Anything that we are reading in public administration, all of them are there for efficiency and economy. And that efficiency and economy, either it is a matter of TP or it is a matter of contemporary world, post-NPM, post-modernism. Everything has got ultimate objective of efficiency and economy, addressing the good of people, ensuring the result orientation, and result orientation with minimum use of the resource with maximization of output. And that is efficiency of government, or that is efficiency of a system. Now, in the perspective of public administration, what we find, all of these are to be performed by bureaucracy. And bureaucracy has got self-aggrandizement. Either it is a matter of Weber's bureaucracy or it is Sala model. Self-aggrandizement, self-interest is primary objective, informally adopted by the bureaucracy. In the unbalanced polity mechanism concept of Riggs, it has come up that to the extent a bureaucrat happens to be strong, in the similar perspective, he becomes less effective. Because for the reason of personal use of his authority, he does, those are against the public interest. Because by the larger use of his authority, he is there benefiting his kith and kins. And so as bureaucrat, he becomes less effective. So therein, the important thing that comes up is morale, ethics. And in the perspective of this morale and ethics, the public interest is compromised, which is good of people. So alongside this efficiency approach, growing concern about morality or ethics in public administration could also be identified. So government has a universalistic character. It has to serve the common good without making sort of any discretion, or sorry, any distinction between people. An efficiency in government that has moral tone. That is the reason we find that Article 14 is there, which is having the reference of positive discrimination. And that has been made constitutional, legalized. बात समझ में आ रही है? So efficiency is not just good government. Government also requires moral. Civil servants require ethics. And that is the reason the Administrative Reforms Commission also has suggested to reword the code of ethics of civil servants. Right, sir? So it is against this background that a broad theory of public interest has emerged to provide general framework for the functioning of public administration. Concern for public interest has variety of reasons. Concern for public interest has variety of reasons. As a matter of fact, the members of bureaucracy constitute a power elite who happen to be self-interested, self-aggrandizing. Just give me a break of 1 minute. I'll just be back. अच्छा, either in case of self-aggrandizing, or if the bureaucracy is working under pressure of some interest group, the public interest will be compromised, na? Right, sir? So in either case, if the public administration is jeopardized, that is the reason that public administration has got larger concern for public interest to ensure, because public administration's objective is to be attained by the instrument of bureaucracy. And bureaucracy has got this tendency. It is not sterilized from this. So that is criticism, Robert Merton ka criticism of Weber ko yahi. Right, sir? Bureaucracy is a mindless machine. So it turns out decisions mechanically. Because Weber's bureaucracy is impartial. So its behavior will be mechanical. That is the problem. And ultimately, the public administration wishes to do good for the people, so that public interest is larger concern. Rule-bounded administration may look very neat, very good, but it may not be able to serve the wider cause of public interest, for the reason of being formalistic and the behavior of cell officers. The bazaar canteen model evolves. Show me the person, I'll show you the rule. ये तो स्वाभाविक है. आज हमारा तुम्हारा परिचय हो गया और तुम यदि कहीं काम करते हो तो उस जगह पे यदि मैं पहुंच गया तो कुछ ना कुछ फेवर तो मिल ही जाएगा. ये कुछ ना कुछ फेवर मिल जाएगा, that could be good for me, but as a matter of fact, therein public interest has been compromised. And public administration has larger concern. ये तो question है. Generally, students are not able to understand the need of the question. They start in describing about public interest. Simon is there in this regard to say that administrative decisions are often based on the grounds other than those of efficiency and economy. So Simon is there to propose that there is social and psychological factors are there greatly influence the way of decision making. So importance of sense of public interest is a wider ethical commitment, wherein good of people is to be ensured, which is not static part, static condition. And this ethical commitment is assumed significance in the context of public interest. Right, sir? Now the question arises, how will it be decided? The second question is for that. कहता है कि what are the philosophical schools to classify public interest? ये तो ठीक है कि public interest क्या है ये समझ गए और बाकी problems हैं. But what is that? And in this regard, we find that 4 classes of public interest classification are there. Intentionalist philosophy, and then perfectionism, and then utilitarianism, and the last one, the most famous, most relevant, theory of justice. Mohit Bhattacharya? सीधा वहीं से, ये क्वेश्चन वहीं से, फर्स्ट चैप्टर से, फर्स्ट चैप्टर से एकदम एक छोटा सा 2-3 पैराग्राफ का है। इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि मोहित भट्टाचार्य पढ़े। बेसिकली बुक ऑफ मोहित भट्टाचार्य इज अ कमेंट्री, इट्स नॉट टेक्स्ट बुक। इट गिव्स यू डायमेंशन टू योर आंसर. It does not make you learn public administration. To learn public administration, you will require to go into the details of books, basic books, MP Sharma, B.L. Phadia, IGNOU, likewise. After understanding things over there, the concept, then you need to come down to read New Horizon and all 3 other books of Mohit Bhattacharya. That will, then only you will be able to understand. Otherwise, proper interpretation of Mohit Bhattacharya is difficult. The limitation of that book is that it does not make you understand about the concepts of public administration. But the most beautiful thing, and that makes book Bible, is it gives you different temperament of thinking. And if you understand that, you will be able to evolve original way of thinking. सबसे खूबसूरत बात मोहित भट्टाचार्य की ये. And one another limitation is it has got little tough language. Language is as such that it becomes little difficult to read and understand immediately. So the intuitionist policy philosophy justifies status quo and is of very little help in actual administrative situation. So what is the intuition? Based upon that, one is performing. तो जैसा हो रहा है वैसा होने दो. And then it is less relevant. It might not be able to exactly take care of the administrative prevalence. Where it is perfectionist policy, it favors excellence. Excellence, but at the cost of expense of social equity. Anything that is perfection. So this perfection condition will be opposite of the social equity, because in social equity, everything cannot be perfect. Rather, it should extend to all. So that way, that the public interest cannot be identified. We will have limitation. When it is social equity, so social equity gives space to the downtrodden people also, and the people at the highest level, and tries to reduce the gap between the two. This is optimum condition. It is not perfect condition. Perfect condition is the best good, highest attainment, which is the best in its nature. So that best cannot be made available to all. And by that way, the common public interest will not be taken care of. That is the reason it is told that this perfectionism is there on the expense of social equity. And then it is then we could say that it is anti-democratic also. Utilitarian calculus has merit of encompassing total social good, but it also accepts the position that few may be worse off. Kant is the person. Now, in this regard, the utilitarian condition is that whatsoever is relevant should be done, but whatsoever is relevant for larger number of people, that may not be relevant for some of the people. Some of the people will have to suffer. Then the common interest or public interest in the perspective of public administration is not taken care of, because public administration takes care of the public interest in the perspective of all. So that happens to be limited. But this is also one of the way to identify the need of the people. So compared to all these philosophies, we find that this theory of justice given by Rawls happen to be balanced, more balanced. As rightly observed by Nicholas Henry, it represents a workable way of determining the public interest. workable way for determining the public interest by public administrators, wherein compromise is not there and positive discrimination is the dimension. 11th one, sorry, अभी का 9th था ना, 10th. चलिए the functional and contemporary public administration has evolved. Functional and contemporary public administration has evolved in its coverage and commitment. Coverage and commitment. With every major transformation. Keywords identify करिए इसमें. What are the keywords? Those are the requirement of the question. Coverage, चलिए. Functional and contemporary public administration भी है, सही है. Coverage and commitment भी है. एक और मेजर चीज है जिसके पर्सपेक्टिव में लिखना है. मेजर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. जानबूझ के पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इसमें नहीं लिखा, आप जोड़ सकते हैं. इन पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऊपर तो है ही कंटेम्परेरी पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. अब बताइए व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय दिस वर्ड कवरेज and commitment? Exactly. Coverage refers to scope and commitment of bureaucracy, intensity of the work. ठीक बात. And this functional and contemporary public administration means the present public administration, wherever. And then in major transformation. अब बताइए कि what are those? When we पहले देखें कि what are the major transformations those have? Because that simply means, इसका मतलब ये समझ में आया कि the answer requires the increase in scope and the commitment of bureaucracy, say public administration, has changed, has evolved with the transformations occurred in public administration. का मतलब कि primary thing is that you should know the transformations those have occurred in public administration since the day of TPA to present one. Right, sir? तो क्या होगा? The transformations are basically when TPA was there, it had the concern for the effective functioning of government. But even after that, it could not be able to perform its objectives. And major accidents were there. Major accidents like First World War was there, 1418. Economic depression was there, 2930. फिर 10 बरस के बाद 3945 Second World War was there. That simply means कि whether the objective of TPA for effective functioning of government that was not being attained. तभी तो इतनी बड़ी दुर्घटना हो गई. Before Second World War, the world was very small. America with some of the European countries. That means कि public administration could not be able to deal itself, evolve itself. है ना? And so it was criticized and was reformed by CPA. ये तो था. But in course of time, CPA also could not be able to do anything. And in 60s, late and early 70s, the CPA also got shut down. 73 में CAG खत्म हो गया। तो CAG in 1973 died or abolished. But one important thing we find कि the objective of CPA or CAG was similar to that of TPA. TPA was there to expect scholars to make theories. Theory building was there. In that response only we find that neoclassical theories and all those were there. Classical and neoclassical theories. SMT, CMT, HRT, सब सिद्धांत बने. CPA was also there with only one change. Because let the base of theory building be realistic and scientific. That was behavioral revolution involved. इतना ही था ना. So this is development, but is not transformation. So things happened same. But when it was 70s, early 70s, so therein young scholars, Honey Report, Philadelphia Conference, Minnowbrook 1, all these occurred. And all those occurred in America only, specifically. CAG was there at work, so 73, uska dying time tha. And CAG was not, CAG and CPA were not capable of giving something substantial. So in that perspective, we find that NPA emerged. And NPA is there with some new thing. Naam hi iska new isliye pada. It had lot of things different from TPA, which were not in TPA, traditional public administration. So it took name of new public administration. So herein we need to identify those 4-5 relevant points. Simultaneously, we find that with the end of CAG, as a matter of fact, the concern for the development of developing countries were there since 40s, at least 50s and 60s. After Second World War, newly independent countries were there. And CPA was basically trying to know about the conditions of developing countries, third world countries, so that it could be able to evolve them. That was the condition. And in course of that, the Western world, specifically America, did a lot of things. Although it had its objectives, its objectives were there to restrict the spread of communism was another inner objective. International conditions were there. But USA took a lot of initiatives in this regard. But CPA could not be able to evolve anything substantial. And the reaction of young scholars in America influenced Ford Foundation. And ultimately, CAG died. As CAG died, the concern of the scholars who had invested their 10-15 years of the research in developing countries, so they evolved their own area. Some of them came back to political science also, but few of them tried to evolve it as. And therein we find DPA. So simultaneously, development public administration evolved. Now, development public administration also does not have intent of making theories. This is also a transformation. ये बात समझ में आएगी कि आप सिद्धांत बना के, थ्योरी बना के हम विकास कितना कर पाएंगे इसका नहीं पता. So NPA was there and it never told to evolve theory. It rather expected the public administration and state to be relevant and client oriented and all. So transformation है ना ये. So TPA to NPA and DPA happens to be one transformation. Major transformation number 1 हुआ. On the other hand, again, thereafter, till the NPA could be able to do something significant, there was globalization. And due to globalization, the state orientation had been subdued and market orientation had been given space. And that influenced the new public administration to change into new public management. So NPM, here in state, till NPA, it was a state-led mechanism of development with some relevance type of changes. But when NPM came, it adopted the market mechanisms in state mechanism. And a state was advocated to be downsized. And market to be given prevalence. Yही condition tha. And in that perspective, again, market mechanism was there. So this is the second, transformation, you could say. And then again, 2008, economic crisis. So thereafter, there is post NPM developments. Those criticized the excessive role of market and suggested to evolve the state also in a strong state condition. So that is strong state versus market debate, and a strong state requirement is there. That was proposed, and in course of that, we find the public value approach, public service management, good governance, all these evolved. And a transformation. And in this perspective, simultaneously we find since days of PCA, matlab 60s, there is another stage of development which is again could be considered as transformation, that is post-Weberian development. In that perspective, we find PCA was there. NPM itself is the post-Weberian development. So all those developments which took stand against the state. New Weberian model. Hua na? Now think over it. How many students will give these references? मुझे तो नहीं लगता. You need to visualize. ऐसा कुछ नहीं जो आप नहीं जानते. But by analyzing the question, what you need to do is this. Now, in course of discussion, I gave you little more detail. That much of detail you will not be able to write. But you would give the reference though. In 2-3 lines, you can refer all these. And that will be deciding factor for the answer. And based upon all these, all the outputs are there. So, bhai sahab, sahi hai. Coverage has evolved. When we are there with post NPM development, the commitment has also increased. Answer ho gaya? Now, in course of this, now this is as you cannot directly write all these, utna jagah nahi hota, you have to write the outputs of that. Jaise kya? When you are referring TPA, so basic objective is effective functioning of government. Iska uddeshya ye nahi tha ki kya prapt hota hai. Wilson was also there to say the same. There is requirement of a trained bureaucracy, impartial bureaucracy, which is committed to implement only. Even Wilson did not say that what commitment should be there for the development of people and that ethics should be there, and aisa kuch nahi bola. So basically, traditional public administration is there to ensure efficiency and effective management of government. And that is the reason that classical approach is there. And whole system emphasized on bureaucracy. System emphasized on formalization, specialization, division of work. This is classical theory. And was the objective of TPA. Gradually, when the TPA traveled, NPA was not there. But in the perspective of NPA, what we find that it advocated about the involvement of people. advocated about the involvement of civil service to people, client orientation. So therein maturity increased of state. So when these points we are referring, the public administration has basically gained some maturity for it. And in course of that, we find that key relationship with people, role of public value, relation with government and society, improvement of accountability, democratic accountability, all those are the part of NPA. With the reference of Golem Vyavasthi, you could easily find that. And then with increase, the NPM is there. So NPM is basically referring the market mechanism. The adoption of TQM, CPM, PERT, all these are adoption of management techniques. Those management techniques in state mechanism. And all these are there to increase the scope of public administration. So expansion in scope had profound impact on the profession and practice of public administration. That made it citizen oriented. That paved way for citizen engagement. People participation. There is difference between citizen engagement and people participation. When it is citizen engagement, so government is trying to find engagement of citizen. Citizen charter type of thing is there. But when it is people participation, so awareness in the people is there, from which the people are coming forward to take responsibility and find growth and development. So with the citizens' engagement, the people participation will increase. Right, sir? And all these are there to increase the scope of state. With the post-NPM development, the commitment will increase. The scholars are there to describe those. In course of that, the system study of public administration has become interdisciplinary also. Because CPA, NPA and NPM, so it is interdisciplinary. Study of political science, study of sociology, study of psychology. Especially when Robert Dahl was there during CPA, he proposed specifically, he claiming public administration to be a science shall sound to be hollow if it is not made interdisciplinary. है ना सर? आप इसमें CPA का वो भी जोड़ सकते हैं कि in the recent past new challenges have come up, new challenges of globalization, technological innovation, environmental requirement, sustainability, eco-friendly development, Mr. Brown. And all these are the major concerns. आप देख लीजिए अभी कि जून में बारिश भी, दिल्ली में बारिश भी हो रही है, कहीं बहुत गर्मी पड़ रही है. So impact of global warming and is being shouted since long. And if that will not be taken care of within 2, 3, 4 years, the condition will become worse. The most important thing to me. And therein, Lester Brown becomes so important because he proposed about eco-friendly development. It should not be just development, should not be just mechanical development. In the wake of development, development should be eco-friendly development. An arrangement to sustain the environment must be there. And then kuch Rio ka to kuch ka, you can give the references of current affairs. ठीक ना sir? And all these have made it cross-cultural. So, major transformation, so you have to write how did it evolve. With the reference of major transformations, the increase in the coverage. That is the scope. ठीक ना? अब ये सोच कर देखिए कि if you write these things this way, तो डू यू थिंक कि मार्क्स विल बी देयर? लगता है आपको? होगा, बिल्कुल होगा। अच्छा, आपको ये भी लगना चाहिए कि डू यू राइट थिंग्स दिस वे? दैट इज अदर मोर इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग. Knowing lot of things and converting them into copy, that requires a bent. That gap I'm trying to fill. I'm considering this one that you are knowing everything. I'm not giving you any detail of that. But references are there. Sometimes thoda baat kar liya to alag baat hai. So that you could be able to integrate the things. And what I had written in at the initial stage, if there is requirement of basic and integration, automatically application would be there. वो याद होना चाहिए. जब कॉपी नहीं खोल रहे हैं आप, तो आपको सब बात जब सामने आ रहा है तो लग रहा है ना कि अच्छा ये तो है, ये तो है. ये कॉपी बिना खुले वो बात होनी चाहिए. तो एग्जामिनेशन में आंसर लिखी जाएगी. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 11 इसी का इंप्लीकेशन है. Discuss the relationship between evolution of discipline and profession of public administration. तो evolution of discipline यही हो गया. From TPA to क्वेश्चन किया, विषय इसी रूप में बढ़ा है. एंड दूसरा क्या है कि प्रोफेशन ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, तो फॉर द रीजन ऑफ द फंक्शंस एज प्रोफेशन हैज इंक्रीज्ड. तो जो क्लासिकली हम लोग पढ़ते हैं उसका थोड़ा सा डेफिनेट रेफरेंस देना है. स्कोप ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, तो फ्यूल का पीओसीसीसी, पोस्ट कोर का ये लूथर गुल्ली का पोस्ट कोर है ना, पर्सी मैक्विन ने कहा है, विलोबी ने कहा, वो एक एक लाइन में, दो लाइन. एंड देन कमिंग डाउन टू दिस कंडीशन. This, when the NPA is there, NPM is there, post NPM is there, it has also increased the scope of discipline of public administration. ना बोला भाई अब प्राइवेट सेक्टर को भी पढ़िए, तो डिसिप्लिन बढ़ा ना, क्रॉस कल्चरल बना दिया, इंटर डिसिप्लिनरी बना दिया. तो हमको पब्लिक के साथ साथ सोशियोलॉजी भी पढ़ना है, साइकोलॉजी भी पढ़ना है, इकोनॉमिक्स भी पढ़ना है. तो पब्लिक चॉइस अप्रोच है. ठीक ना. So it has increased the scope and scope of discipline and the profession also. और फिर जब हम लोग पब्लिक सर्विस अप्रोच की बात करते हैं, तो therein the commitment, the role of civil servants have increased by means of that. And in course of that ARC के कुछ रिफॉर्म्स, कर्मयोगी का दे दीजिए, सिविल सर्विस रिफॉर्म्स दे दीजिए, पुलिस रिफॉर्म्स दे दीजिए, है ना. कि now it is not just the role of police to arrest the criminals. तो मॉडल पुलिस स्टेशन का कॉन्सेप्ट है. Anybody, even if one is dead core criminal, if one reaches police station, it is the duty of the police available in the station to provide him a space to sit, serve him glass of water, give him time to be comfortable if he has come to police station. ये तो करना बड़ा मुश्किल है. We are prevailing with still my बाप culture of bureaucracy. So by that way, the commitment and the role has also increased now. Previously, the role of DM or public administration was that of administrator. It was there to implement, and implementation has got larger coercive dimension. Things have totally changed. And now the role of the government is that of facilitator. Reinventing government. Osborne and Gebler. इतना ही रेफरेंस देना है कि ऑसबर्न गेबलर जो मैंने बोला वो लिखना है. Because they are, and Modi ji is there to propose that. आज के प्रैक्टिकली आज के समय में देखिएगा कि अब गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट भी बोलते हैं कि अब इसमें वो बात नहीं रही, काहे बहुत काम करना पड़ता है. भाई साहब पैसे आपको इसी के मिलते हैं. That ethical change also is happening, and that is being enforced by the reforms mechanism. कि अब बायोमेट्रिक सरकारी में भी बायोमेट्रिक लगाना पड़ता है कि आप 9 बजे ऑफिस पहुंचे कि नहीं पहुंचे, और 15 मिनट लेट हुआ तो आपका हाफ डे हो जाए. All these were there in private administration. So it is basically NPM advocacy. The mechanisms of private sectors have been adopted by the state also, thereby making them effective. And ultimately, attainment of objective of the public administration. ठीक है. इसके बाद now we come down to the phase of Wilson. तो विल्सन के बारे में बहुत सारी बात है नहीं, दो चार बातें ही हैं. We have taken up the question over here. Wilson recognized the lessons learned from that lesson learned from other countries would have to be filtered through the cultural lens of the person seeking to learn and borrow techniques. क्या है ये? एक लाइन का आंसर है इसका. Done. What are the keywords? क्या रिकॉग्नाइज किया कि lessons learned from other countries. क्या करेगा? Would be filtered through the cultural lens. The impact of environment is also being talked and is reference of comparative study of. ये comparative politics नहीं है, ध्यान रहे. comparative politics तो विल्सन के बहुत बार आया. It is comparative study. So Wilson is the person who has proposed specifically to study administration historically and comparatively, and he rejected the study of idealist approach of study of public administration. Thereby, he proposed about the behavioralism also. Right, sir? There should be a science of administration which shall seek to straighten the path of government, to make its business less business-like. वही keyword है उसका. To strengthen and purify its organization and to crown its duty with dutifulness. And that is in the perspective of role of state, and is talking about dichotomy. मूल बात यही. Is talking about dichotomy because when it says to make its business less business-like, that means कि business with profitability would not be there and business with commitment would be there. Right, sir? कुछ और क्वेश्चन हम लोग ले सकते हैं, जैसे कि वो तो ये वाला तो हो गया, कुछ और क्वेश्चन ले सकते हैं। डू वी हैव टाइम? जैसे कहते हैं कि एक क्वेश्चन है कि चाहे तो लिख भी सकते हैं, है नहीं उसमें, कि द एक्टिविटीज ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एट वेरियस स्टेजेस ऑफ पॉलिसी प्रोसेस, द एक्टिविटीज ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन administrator at various stages of policy process illustrate the difficulty of divorcing politics from administration. करना क्या है इसमें कि what are the areas wherein the public administration is involved in policy making process, the policy formulation, policy implementation, its monitoring, seeking feedback, helping government to prepare the plans, suggesting reform. O&M का भी काम है इसमें, ये भी बहुत बड़ा काम है। It is not saying that dichotomy. It is trying to indicate interdependence. It is difficult to divorce. And for that reason, it is referring at the various levels of various stages of policy making. So it is in the perspective of wider approach. इतना सा लिखना है, ठीक है सर। चलिए एक क्वेश्चन और है कि पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज अ हेटेरोजेनस मास ऑफ एक्टिविटीज एंड ऑपरेशंस। Public administration is a heterogeneous mass of activities and operations. तो इसमें बिग रोल सब लिखते हैं। हेटेरोजेनस मास का मतलब बहुत सारे काम करते हैं, ये भी काम वो भी काम, तो बिग रोल ऑफ वो सब लिखेगा। बट देयरइन इफ यू गिव द रेफरेंस ऑफ एनपीए, एनपीएम, पोस्ट एनपीएम, तो आंसर विल इंक्रीज। ठीक है। एंड इन दैट पर्सपेक्टिव जो अभी हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया कि रोल ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, रोल ऑफ स्टेट, ऑल दोस विल बी इंक्लूडेड। ये डिस्कशन तो कभी खत्म होगा नहीं। सो we'll drop the class here. We'll meet tomorrow with the next session. Thank you, sir.